All right, everybody. Welcome to the Spartacus Project again. This week we've got a really interesting topic. I'm sure something that will stir up a lot of soft, weak-minded people out there. We're doing the top 10 biggest betas in all of arm wrestling. And
Top
we
10
said,
or five?
well, top five for me, top five from
Oh,
you.
yeah, gotcha.
But
Gotcha.
hopefully 10 total. I don't know that we're going to cross picks. We might. Um, but we'll just explain why we think they're betas. And one thing I wanted to know on this channel, you're never going to hear me ask you to like and subscribe or for anything because I always think it's pathetic when I'm watching YouTube and they're always saying hit like and subscribe. I think it's beta as shit. But on this particular case, I will ask you to comment. I think if you think that we're totally wrong, comment. If you think we're totally right, comment. Some input on this one would be nice too. So, all right, Chris, you can start. You can list who's your number five beta, five being the weakest of your top five.
All right, let me see here.
Oh, you got a list. You got it written. You got a whole.
Oh, yeah.
You came more prepared than me.
Okay, so my number five, I don't even know if he's active. Um, but, well, I'm sure he's active. He had his own podcast. But my number five is Jonathan Thompson.
Okay, I can
Yeah.
see it.
Reason being is, well, basically it confirmed with me when he, that super match with Evan where he pulled that WWE bullshit and cut himself a little bit too much. And, trying to put a show on completely bullshit to try to draw in some likes and subs and stuff like that. But that's totally beta. Plus, my general instinct on him is pretty much that. Soft, pliable, not much conviction, and pretty much like others on the list. I assume he'll do pretty much anything um, to get noticed or get traction. I guess.
Yeah, that match was very, very WWF and not even good WWF, some backyard WWF bullshit. Thought it was really, really strange. And then Evan was smashing him to the pad before the go just to get him to bleed. That was a strange circumstance. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll get views, but it's just weird, man. That's not arm wrestling.
I also saw another match years ago for one of Neil's shows where he it looked like he was trying to break the opponent's arm.
Yeah, I
Um,
did see that.
so that again, not too strong.
Yeah, that shows kind of a lack of integrity. I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
lack of integrity and lack of lack of integrity, lack of true confidence. Needs to be liked to feel justified in his existence.
Yeah.
Can't run solo, all that shit.
Okay. Yeah, that's a solid number five. I didn't see that one coming, but I get it when you lay it out. Yeah. Because I think he's entertaining, but I guess you can be. I think he's
Yeah,
entertaining
for sure,
sometimes. So you can be
for sure, he's
entertaining and still
entertaining.
be a beta.
Yeah, he's also highly intelligent, and he's also a good guy. I mean, we're
Yeah,
not. This doesn't speak to the necessarily to the. Like, this is just basically not a very dominant personality and not a very dominant, confident, poised dude, right? That's pretty
yeah,
much it.
yeah. Well, my number five is pretty similar, I guess, because he's a guy who is entertaining. I actually like watching his. He had a YouTube channel, and it was entertaining. And when I watch him pull, he's entertaining. Hyper successful in North America. One of the more dominant guys around the 200-pound range, 220-pound range for years ever since he started pulling. But the past few years, he's taken his beta level to astronomical proportions, and it's RVJ. It's Rob Vision Jr. I think
Wow.
I think the only thing bigger than his biceps is his ego, and there's nothing on the man softer than his ego. He is. If anyone
Wow.
challenges him any way, any criticism, he's immediately like, "I'm gonna fight you." Um,
Yeah.
Starts spewing venom immediately, and then Ryan Bowen stood him up for a podcast that they were supposed to do, and he went on a rant on YouTube with two videos about how he's done with it. He compared it to getting cheated on, that he got stood up for a YouTube podcast, and I'm only gonna get fucked over one time, and quit YouTube, signed off completely, all because his
Mhm.
ego got hurt. And
Yeah, he definitely triggers.
yeah, full
Yeah.
trigger. And it's not like a
Yeah.
medium trigger; it's a huge trigger every time. But then too,
Yeah.
he goes. Him and Ryan Bowen had that back and forth for like a year or longer, And then they're doing a podcast together. Like it went from Rob threatening him with violence to they're doing a show together, and then they're supposed to have a match that Rob backs out of, and before that Ryan had backed out of it. It's like they're fighting for beta supremacy.
Man, that's really out of right field. I mean, I agree with all your points, and I don't have him as a obviously as a top beta. And ironically, most people out there, fanboys and guys that look up to him, consider him a dom, right? He's an alpha. So, but I agree with you. Like he's more beta than alpha for all those reasons, despite the fact that he's jacked and stuff like that. Another thing I find odd with him is that whenever he loses a match, it's always, well, the other guy was juiced. The other guy was juiced. The other guy was juiced. Like this is probably one of the most genetically gifted humans we've ever seen enter our sport, bar none. Like you can make the argument, uh, you know, uh, not much of a lower body, lean, huge, massive hand, um, good bicep connection, all that stuff. But always has a reason. Always has, you know, yeah.
Yeah,
So I,
yeah,
I definitely see it.
and I see why people would consider him an alpha type just off the look, the success. But you can be successful and still have no real self
Yeah.
confidence.
No, no,
Like
no, no.
I think a lot of that is insecurity showing itself. Like but yeah,
Yeah.
and everyone's gonna have moments of insecurity, like moments, but you're not gonna stay there. He seems to
Yeah.
always be one comment away from exploding on
Yeah.
anybody.
And
And
if we ever made like a top five most underachieving arm wrestler, he would be my number one. Considering what he's been given in life and the fact that like I don't know about now, but for a while he was like a stay at home dad, so he had all the time in the world to train. And he just, I mean, he did great things. He was an elite pro, but considering the gifts that he had, I found he was always an underachiever.
yeah, for sure. And his natty status is like a vegan CrossFit person. You're not gonna have to ask them; they're gonna tell you within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah,
He brings up being natty on every video that he's ever done, and no one gives a fuck. Like it's cool that
yeah,
you're natty. I don't care though. Like
yeah,
you can't use your natty status as a crutch as to why you will never beat a Rackley. Because
yeah.
even if
You said,
Rob got
yeah,
on gear, he's not going to be dedicated like a Rackley. He's not going to train like a
no,
Rackley, and that's fine. But don't say he's only beating me because he's on juice. That guy's a professional arm wrestler, and
yeah,
you're in and out all the time. So that's
yeah,
why.
yeah. It's how he sets up losses, right?
Yeah,
He pre-sets it up in his mind, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, he sets it up. It's kind of like the guy that posts a YouTube video of him training, and he says, "Oh, by the way, this is my last set, so I'm weaker." Why would you post a set of your week? Like it's just a way for him to say, "Well, if you're not impressed by my number, take it into consideration. I was much stronger 20 minutes ago before I posted the video." Like it's fucking weak.
yeah. Here's a PSA in case you don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. All right, who's your number four?
My number four is this is going to be a shocker for many. My number four is Derek Smith. Yeah, I know he's 6'8", big guy, but
Wow, yeah.
yeah, but I have him as a beta. Like he's a good guy. Like I'm not saying he's not a good guy. Doesn't do good things for the sport. That's not what we're talking about. But seeks attention. Seeks not the most considering size, but that's not really a factor. He's just not a confident guy. Not a confident guy. Not internally. Um, and I mean, these are not like these. This is just based on my instinct and what I've seen. This is not like I've gone into heavy analysis and I've had people tell me things. This is all basically what I've seen. What else can I go by? But yeah, I have him number four. Considering his size, he's soft mentally.
Yeah, that's another guy. Intimidating presence for sure. He seems real fired up too when he pulls. And again, I don't know if that's genuine. Like he's really animated when he's pulling.
Yeah,
I don't really know Derek well enough at all to contribute much into that, but I'm 99% sure he voted for Biden. So that alone, yeah, he could make the
yeah,
top five
yeah.
on my
I
list.
also find when guys are overly animated. I don't mean in the heat of the moment when they're rarely animated and then they are, because that would make it authentic. But when guys are overly animated, I find it's their way to pump them up. It's their way of pumping themselves up, which really I don't think you really need to. You should have to do if you're absolutely a confident dude. Like you don't really need that. And he seems like he needs that. Good guy, you know, articulate, intelligent. Ivan is a beta.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'll have to roll with you on that one. I don't have anything to argue to the alternative other than I think you voted for Biden, so fuck him.
Yeah.
My number 4 is this list is starting off weird on both ends because we're kind of picking like popular, successful guys. My number 4 is Camille Jablonski, and
Wow.
this is a he's
Wow.
probably bigger than Derek. Hyper successful, top 5 guy in the world, left-handed, total beast, but one of the weakest mindsets for social media that I've ever seen in my life. Why the fuck would Camille Jablonski care what I have to say about anything he does? It would make no sense for him to even pay me any attention, let alone converse with me, if I give him the slightest bit of criticism. And it happened on a few occasions. One time he was doing one of those bullshit lifts, where they have they've got their forearm parallel with way more weight than they can handle, and they're giving it an inch, and they're like, "Oh yeah, look, I can 100 kilos. Look how strong I am." And I said, "That's a bullshit lift, dude. You're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
You're stroking your mentality." And he was very upset. We went back and forth for like hours about him trying to validate it, and it ended with me saying, "Camille, I know you're just doing this for views. I know you're doing this big way." And he also compared it to Levon. He had Levon in the same video, so he's just trying to get attention. And I'm like, I understand why you're doing this, but I don't know why you're arguing it's a legit lift. And he ended up conceding and saying, like, yeah, I do a lot of this stuff just to get views. I'm like, okay, I have no problem with you doing it as long as you call it like it is. And
Mhm.
then it proceeded to, those arcade punching bags that you hit and it gives you a score? It means nothing. I mean, it's a fucking arcade game. It means nothing. Camille hit it like a girl. He hit it with these knuckles, like this. He pressed it, you know what I mean? And it was the best he could do for a punch, but it made me laugh. So I commented like, dude, imagine throwing a punch like this and thinking it's good. Like, this is shit. And he replied to me, imagine I do this for fun and now I know who you are, and then blocked me. Like, you're gonna block me,
Wow.
and what is it, a threat? You just punched like a
Wow.
bitch, and now you're gonna say you know who I am, like you're gonna hit me when you see me. Come on, we know that's not what it is. You can't take a little poke. If I threw a punch,
Wow.
if anybody threw a punch like that, I would make fun of him. I would immediately, like in person, I would have
Yeah.
said, "Dude, what is that? Who taught you how to punch?" But he blocked me. Couldn't
Yeah.
take it.
Wow. Wow.
And on top of the fact, I know like physical stuff doesn't matter. With being a beta, if you took that dude's head and just cropped it and put it on a Gerber baby food jar, nobody would fucking know the difference. My man needs a beard more than anybody I've ever seen. He looks soft in the face, as soft as he is in the brain.
Wow. Wow. Good one. Way to break it down, because I would have never guessed. I don't know the guy at all.
Yeah, I don't know him in person either, which lends more to the fact, why do you care?
Yeah.
Just have fun with it, dude. Roast me back.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. The threat slash block move. Oh wow. Like,
Yeah, beta validation.
yeah, that's weak. Wow.
All right, who you got next?
Number 3, I have a guy from the past, and I don't know if our listeners would even know who he is now, but just to lay down some context, this guy was everything he did. And he was a big Facebook posting dude. Everything he did was, look at me, look at me, look at this. Everything was to draw attention to him. Nothing was about, conviction or, ethics. All his posts, even though it would come off, he was an ethical um, frame set. It's always to get him attention. And his name is Ray Cody. Ray Coates? I don't know.
Oh,
But
Country
this
Crush.
guy, yeah, him. Yeah,
Yeah,
that dude.
I know him.
I mean, I remember once he posted, "Oh, my daughter just got rushed to the hospital," and then he's in the waiting room, posting selfies and stuff. Like, motherfucker, why wouldn't you be with her in that room? Like, the dude lives off attention and validation, and done some good stuff in the sport. Like, again, but man, I was at the time, I was like, man, that dude is. And the tattoos and all that shit. It's like big time overcompensation for a man who has like very little confidence.
Yeah, I heard he was promoting, I think, for a little while too, or sponsoring or doing something. And
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
did he do much for the sport? Those Country Crush handles suck in my
I don't
opinion.
know, man. I'm just saying that this isn't an evil dude, right? Like this isn't an yeah, again, hating. It's not hating. It's just breaking down what I think people are analyzing them. And I think this is super interesting. We can potentially do this whole episode on arm wrestlers and not talk about arm wrestling, which I don't think has ever been done. And as we progress, people will see where we're going with this. But I don't think we're going to talk about arm wrestling, but we're going to break down arm wrestlers.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's a mental attacks,
yeah, yeah,
a view into the mentality of a human being on a competitive
that's right.
and
Yeah,
personal side.
yeah, you're breaking down psychology on the people in our sport. It's not a terrible thing. This is a negative aspect, and later we're gonna go the other way. But I mean, if someone had made a list and called me, had me, I'd be like, yeah, man, tell me why. Like, that's interesting. Give me some fucking details. Like, maybe I need to work on some shit. Like, I wouldn't freak out. But
Yeah,
anyway, so you're number three.
yeah. Well, and like you just said too, that's one of the things that makes you not a beta is that you have self awareness,
Mhm.
and I, someone criticizing you or saying something to you is not going to knock you off kilter. Even if you disagree with them or think they're full of shit, it's not going to make you
Yeah,
have any feelings towards them or any sort of
yeah.
conjecture for violence like some of these people.
Historically, I have issues with threats.
Well,
Uh,
threats are different, you know.
yeah, but pure opinions, as venomous as they could be, I bring it on. I like it. The thing they say, "Thou shalt not judge." Judge away, man. It's your fucking opinion. Like you should be centered and strong enough to know who you are and know where your flaws are. And if someone points them out, well, that guy has pretty good observation skills. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, I'm a big
You know?
First Amendment supporter, man. I'm thankful that we are able to sit across from people with different opinions, completely different opinions, and we
Mm-hmm.
can have a discussion. But it takes two grown-ups to do that mentally.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't have a discussion with someone who's just going to threaten you or get pushed to the point of violence. There's hardly anything anyone could say outside of threatening me with violence that would make me feel a violent tendency towards them.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, my number three. This one's a weird one because I'm not 100% sure he's a beta, but I've got him three, and it's Josh Handelman. He's
Oh, I love Josh. I'm a big
he's
Josh fan.
he's a
Fuck.
nice he's a nice dude. He's
God,
very nice, very polite. He's been around for a long time. Yeah, that's what I mean. This one's kind of out of left field.
wow,
He
wow.
again, this kind of goes back to I have actually met Josh in person, but this one goes back to a social media spat where it lasted maybe 10 minutes, and there was no venom spilled on either side. We were discussing Michael Todd's King move, and
Mhm.
I was saying, yeah, I don't like the move at all. I think it's a bullshit move, but I don't care that he does it. Like I don't like it, but it's like again the free speech thing. Arm wrestle how you want to, and I was saying I don't think it's gonna win at a high level. Like against the best of the best, they're gonna pin his King's move, and we've kind of
Yeah,
seen it play out on East versus West. And Josh was saying Josh was saying he didn't think the move was a big deal either, but he's saying he's already won big things like the Arnold Classic. Like, dude, the Arnold Classic's not a. We're not talking about a world class event. Like there has been some world class pullers, but it's not like a number one in the world type thing. At least, and it's not even at the Arnold Classic anymore. But he blocked me over us essentially agreeing that the King's move is not a big deal. He blocked me. Super soft mentally. Don't understand it. We'd never even had any social media interaction other than that.
mm-hmm.
And then this is
Mm-hmm.
this is where I'm saying I'm not sure he's a beta. I met him one time in person at the Michigan State Championship, and I went up to him and shook his hand. We conversed for like a minute, just small talk, nice to meet you, this and that. And he didn't make eye contact with me through the
Mm-hmm.
entire time. Not when we shook hands, not when we were talking. He was kind of looking around. So I'm not sure if he's a beta or if he's slightly on the
Mm-hmm.
spectrum. So maybe I shouldn't have him
My
on the list, but
uh,
he could
fuck
be
it.
on the spectrum.
Yeah, my read on him was always very sensitive, very not in a bad way, very extroverted and altruistic. Like did the rankings, like just a generally good person, but um, yeah, it doesn't mean they have a dominant, confident personality. Often, people that seem nice, and one word that always comes to mind is he's harmless. That's not always a good thing because if you're incapable of violence and harming somebody, not having it is not a virtue. If you have it and control it, then it's a virtue. But if you don't have it in the first place and you're just a super nice guy because you don't have the apples to do anything else, are you really a nice guy, or are you just, limited? But anyway, for me, my read on him was generally a good guy, authentic, altruistic, gives a lot out of himself, probably raised very well, good family background. But yeah, like again, it could be a beta.
Yeah,
He's definitely not an alpha. He's definitely not an alpha, right? We know that.
yeah,
But he's, I don't know what degree of beta he would be, but good guy. That I haven't heard that name in like 6-7 years, and I pulled him maybe 5 times at least. He had a good left hook at one point, 2013 to 2016. His left hook was solid in the middleweight class, light middleweight class. He had some big wins, but yeah, wow.
yeah. He's still ranked in North America on both the
Okay.
rankings. I mean, he's always kind of wrote the rankings, but yeah, again, these aren't shots at you as a human being. I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's
No.
a bad.
Geez, fuck, of course not a bad guy. Jesus,
I
no.
don't think anybody I'm listing is a bad guy. I don't have ill feelings towards any of them. I mean, one guy on my list I think is a bad guy, but we'll get to that later. But
Yeah.
I don't have hatred for any of these guys.
No, there's no fucking hate. We're observing and analyzing dudes. It's giving our general opinions on them on a psychological level. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm just calling like I see it.
Yeah.
All right, who's your number
I love
3?
doing this shit. Is it 3 or 2?
Are you it?
No, it's 2.
Okay,
well,
2 for you.
I've already done 3 guys, right? So
okay, yeah.
So I'm at my 2. So
yeah,
my 2 is man. It's when you get deep like this, like I could have like number 1 at number 2, number 2 at number 1, and I could have added a few guys too. But my number 2 is Joe Drellick. Joe Drellick's my number 2. He's my number 2. Again, means well, decent kid. Did some good things. Did a lot of pro bono film work and all that stuff. But just latches on to certain dudes. It's like a fanboy. Craves attention from certain people. For me, he's a textbook tier 5 beta. Not as much as my number 1, but he's definitely pushing the envelope.
Well, you've got a lot of personal experience with him. He was on one of your podcasts with Herbert Stevens. Why was he on there, Chris? If I may ask.
Well, yeah, and that's I make mistakes and I have regrets in life, and how I handled that. I'm not saying how I handled that was wrong. Anyway, but it was a 3-way, and right now, one thing about me is I know nothing about tech. I cannot edit. I don't do any in a podcast. I'm a personality, but I don't do any of the background work, right? And Herman was closer to me than closer to him, so we needed a tech nerd, and Joe was a tech stud. He did a lot of work. He did all that stuff. He did the editing. He loved to advertise, part and parcel of being a beta and all that stuff. But he was good in that vein, and I just didn't think, like, because you could only have so many voices and so many people in a podcast, and at a certain point, I just didn't think that he warranted a spot. Not every episode, and anyway, so it just it went from there. But I always regretted it because I had good chemistry with Herman, and Herman was awesome to be in a podcast with. Much like you, no fear, highly analytical, highly articulate. But yeah, Joe for me was hard. It was hard for me to deal with Joe because he was incessantly frustrating on stuff he did, and not a bad guy. Like, I had no problem with him being part of the group. I just didn't think that he didn't have enough insight to have, log hours on a podcast and have a voice. Not every episode anyway. Sounds harsh, I know, but
it's not harsh. I think you're being too nice. He added nothing to the commentary. I watched all those. He didn't really ever say fucking anything, and when he did, it was because you guys had to ask him, and then it was like a 2-word answer. He was just staring there. It was like a third screen, just staring at the viewers.
Yeah. Every once in a while, go ahead.
Here, you stole my number 1. He was my number 1, and See, I think you're being way too nice to him. I don't hate Joe. I don't think he's a bad person, but I've never been a fan of giving yourself nicknames. I'm just not a fan of it. I feel like a
No.
nickname's something you earn, something people call you, and it sticks. He gave himself the nickname Natural Born Killer,
Yeah.
and there ain't nothing about him that's a natural born killer. And if you go to his YouTube channel, every video is Devin Larratt. Every video is
Yeah.
Devin Larratt training,
Latching
Devin
on.
Larratt
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Devin, I'm 100%
Yeah.
convinced that he would let Devin fuck his wife as long as he can film it for content.
Yeah.
Immediate ultimate beta.
Yeah. Trying to get on all those tags, trying to get more traction, lived for latching on to men he thought were dominant, that he was fans of. So yeah, mega beta. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, big time.
Now you're gonna have to go again though now because you stole my number one. So now,
well, okay. So my number one is undisputed, for multiple reasons. When I talk about a beta, the beta cannot be behind the scenes. The beta cannot. I mean, a top tier home run hitting beta is not a guy that's subdued and behind. He doesn't make a lot of sound or noise. So for me, a true like tier 5 beta is a guy that's fucking loud. He's full of overcompensation. He's full of latching on to the dominant men around him. And if that guy has, for whatever reason, financial resources, he's going to take all that resource and he's going to build himself up, despite the fact that he doesn't deserve to be built up based on his own efforts alone. And that man is Paul Italia. Number one beta, undisputed for me. And again, not an evil human being, but everything this fucking
he's
guy
kind
does,
of a
everything,
douche. He's kind of a
he does is self-promotion. Even when it's not self-promotion, it's self-promotion. And when everything is self-promotion. He handpicks an opponent, gives that guy $4,000 or $5,000 to come to an event, pays a guy to train him. He says Travis is his buddy. Yeah, Travis isn't your friend. If you were broke and lived in a car, Travis wouldn't have anything to do with you. So he's not your buddy. But he uses his money for as currency and capital to get friendships that aren't really friendships, and to get super matches where he doesn't really warrant it. They're not really super, but it's just this guy's a beta male with a big bank account, and that's what we see.
Yeah,
you give a beta a big bank account. Yeah.
He went from riding Jerry to riding Travis. Did you see that video of Travis and him fighting on Natural Born Killer Productions videos?
Fuck was that? That was Jesus. Was that good? Oh my god.
My man tapped after 30 seconds with Travis. There was no submission, there was no strikes. He just tapped. I've had enough, sir. What are you tapping to?
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but a couple of years ago, I was 2-3 years out of the sport, and he contacted me and he says, "I have a podcast. You want to go on?" I said, fuck it, why not? I enjoy talking. I enjoy expressing my views. So I said, sure. I didn't know what the agenda was. I didn't care. But fuck it. Jerry was going to be on the show. There was a few others. And I said, sure, I enjoyed that. I had nothing else planned that night. Nothing was on TV. So we did it. And right off the gates, he's like, I wanted to let you know that the reason I brought you on is because last year you trolled me and my girlfriend. I'm like, yeah. You said stuff about me and my girlfriend. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I'm bringing you on the show to know why. And the fact that he brought that out of right field without me able to prepare, which was fine. It means he had an agenda. Could you imagine the lack of balls to bring a guy in that got the better of you on Facebook or through trolling or whatever? And I assure you, nothing I did was potent. Like, it was, if I trolled him and his girlfriend, it was G-rated stuff. But he took it so to heart that he needed to get his own. Well, he had his own podcast anyway, but to get me on and try to corner me. And to have me like quiver and say, oh, Paul, oh no, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry, man. Can we be buds? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I told you. I trolled you. So what do you want?
Yeah, that's pathetic.
You troll people. You troll people. Like, everyone trolls. You've antagonized. I've seen Paul. Fuck, I've seen Paul viciously attack people when he didn't get his way. I mean,
yeah, I saw. Do you know who Justin Blair is? Arm wrestler. He does.
That's the one about him being a recovered alcoholic, right?
Yeah, all Justin did was talk about his how bullshit Paul's match was or whatever, and he went off on him.
Yeah, have another drink. You fucking always
yeah,
talk
we're
about
gonna
how
hear
you're.
about how you relapsed again. Like went off
Yeah,
on him. Like, dude, get how
yeah,
thin is your skin? And
yeah,
plus two, if you're an Italian dude wearing a cowboy hat and dress pants, shirtless on everything you do, you're a fucking moron.
yeah. And and that's funny because I don't know Justin Bear much like I don't know Paul that well, but I can tell you that they were in a room with the door
No
locked.
way.
Um, that guy does whatever he wants with Paul as many times as he wants,
Yeah,
right? And there's
yeah,
nothing Paul can do. Like that is a bad dude. That is a
yeah.
bad motherfucker.
Well, and
I
that's what
mean,
makes Paul the number one beta on your list, and he could be number one on any beta list for arm wrestling. He would have never said those things to Justin in person. Not in
Jesus
a million
Christ.
years. He would if he had
Yeah.
said that. And he knows it, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what it is. So
Yeah.
all right. Well, my new number one is another guy. I think he's equal with Paul Italia, in beta-ness, maybe even superior.
Equal? Come on, man. I got to
He
hear
may
this. There's no way he's equal.
he
Come
may
on.
be the number one disputed beta, and he's the only one that I think might like. I don't know him. I've never met him, but he might
Give me a
genuinely.
hint.
You know
I
him.
don't know.
You
The
pulled him.
people that listen, hold on. The people that listen to us, I don't know if you know this, but we try not to, we try not to talk too much prior about stuff. We try to have it authentic. So I don't know what his list is going to be. So you got to give me a hint. I want to guess who this guy is. I know him. I pulled him
You pulled him.
in Canada or the United States.
I think it was in Canada. It was at the bottom eight. You pulled him.
Holy fuck. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. It's not
It's
too hard to figure it
Ryan
out.
Blue Bowen for sure.
Wow. Yeah.
No one in the history of mankind has documented their beta mentality more than this guy. He's got an entire series called The Delusional Ryan Bowen that is better than the content he puts out. And it's literally just recordings of him having zero integrity, lying constantly, false bravado, being a piece of shit to Neil Pickup and Ingen Terzi. Like he has zero integrity as a human being, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how you can get checked on it so many times and continue to double down on it. Like being delusional is one act of being a beta. Like if you have no self-awareness and you're not able to evaluate where are you as an arm wrestler, where am I as a person, and you just keep he calls it falling forward now. He's falling forward. My brother, you're falling flat on your face. That's not forward. You're just face smacking over and over again. And
Mm-hmm.
then he had a GoFundMe. Did you see his GoFundMe?
No.
This was a while back. He had a GoFundMe for $5,000. It's in the Delusional Ryan Bowen series. You can watch it. GoFundMe for $5,000 to hire a strength coach that he couldn't afford. And he's like, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have the $5,000. And then he documents his trips all over the world, going to Rome, going to
yeah.
London, going to Paris. What the fuck are you talking? How big of a parasite of a human being are you that you're going to beg for money from people saying you don't have the money for a coach while you're traveling the globe?
I see your Bowen story, and I raise you a Ryan Bowen story. Um,
Yes, this is the
did a
content
video,
I came for.
did a video, did a video with sad, dramatic, melodramatic music. How he's gonna, commit suicide because he's lost his wife and kids, and it was well done. And I'm like, this isn't a spontaneous help me video. This is a premeditated, calculated video to get traction. And there is nothing in this world more beta than that. Like literally, like so. Even you're right. Like in this realm, he tops Paul. Like fuck that. Just that alone.
Yeah,
Uh, is and I hammered him for years. Like I was relentless on that, and I mean relentless. Relentless.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, alphas don't contemplate suicide, and if they do it.
They don't need a show. It's not a show. It's you
If
just
they're gonna
end it.
do
Like,
it, it's
you
over.
don't need a fucking show. Yeah, you don't need
Yeah,
a spectacle with an audience. You don't need a
yeah,
fucking show.
yeah. I
Fucking
actually
do it.
didn't. I didn't hear about that for when it happened because he's had me blocked for so long because he can't handle anything. My friend told me about that. Was like, hey man, did you see this? And showed me. And then I'm like, oh my god. So I went on there as him and commented, like, man, like I didn't know you sucked at everything so bad that you'd even fail at suicide. And then he blocked my friend too. So
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
a double whammy.
Wow.
Everyone knows that was a bullshit cry for help. Come on.
Wow.
Not even a cry for help,
Man,
just fake.
yeah,
Give me
I got to
views.
reassess. I find myself reassessing my top five because he ultimately, with what your argument, I should have had him in the top five. I don't know why. I mean, he wasn't even. I didn't even come to mind. Maybe he should have, but he didn't come to mind. Wow.
Well, yeah, and
Huh.
he's so self aware now. He's going to be number one in the world at 105 kilos soon. That's his
Yeah.
next thing. So
Hasn't he lost like five, six super matches in a row?
yeah,
I can't remember the last time he won a match.
I don't think he'd be top 10 in the world right now at 176 pounds. Like the top
Yeah.
10, 176 guys in the world would probably all mob him. And
Mm-hmm.
again, I don't think he's a bad arm wrestler, but there's such a huge gap between just being a good pro and being top 10 in the world. It's a
Well,
large mountain
yeah.
to climb.
Yeah, I touched in the last episode. He has strong arm wrestling acumen. Like his IQ to analyze and to um, you know apply it to his training. He has tremendous intelligence that way. He's not a dummy. He's just limited in perseverance, limited in the amount of pain he can physically take in his training, and limited in his physical genetics. And his physical genetics are not terrible. They're just not elite level stuff. And the fact that he puts more energy into social media traction than he does in building a warrior, right? So
But it seems
there
like
you
his
go.
table acumen's going backwards because now he's a straight up
Yes,
ink
yeah,
mover, straight up
yeah.
straight
Because
arm.
once he realized, maybe it was years ago. At one point, he realized. At one point, he believed he could be great. At one point, something happened, and he realized, okay, I'm no longer that guy. I can be better, but I can no longer be Todd Hutchins. I can no longer be this 198 thoroughbred. When he did that, and he realized it, he came to the conclusion like now it's not about getting better, it's about finding tricks and clownery and just eke out wins in a dramatic fashion and um, be formidable in any way possible. um, and that's what he did.
Yeah, yeah, it
You
seems to be
know,
working out real great for him. He's
well, yeah,
he's he's killing it out there.
yeah, you know, yeah.
All
It
right.
is
Well,
what it
now
is.
that we
Yeah,
got through the biggest betas, we have to pay some sort of homage to the other side of it. And this isn't a top alpha list or anything like that. I actually asked you this last night, Chris. I'm like, since we're doing the
mm-hmm.
beta list, we should do something for the other side. Who are three guys in arm wrestling? Like, let's say lightweight 165 and under,
Yeah,
middleweight 200 and under, and then unlimited heavyweight 200 and over. Three guys, arm wrestlers, for whatever reasons you deem necessary or logic you use. Three guys you would want to have your back if a bar brawl breaks out or a parking
yeah.
lot scuffle. Three arm wrestlers that you know would not run and would have your back.
Okay. Wow.
Do you want me to start this
Okay.
one?
You go. You go. You go.
Okay,
Go for
I'll
it.
start this one since I asked it to you. For
Start
me,
with lightweight.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
The lightweight guy, the lightweight middleweight guys came to me immediately as soon as
Mm-hmm.
I thought of this question. There was two dudes I had in mind that I don't think I could switch out. The lightweight is a 100% Dan Blanchard. Dan
Mm-hmm.
Blanchard's a many-time world champion arm wrestler. Uh,
Yeah.
his hands are
I
bigger
pulled
than
him.
mine. Hands are
Yeah.
bigger than mine at 154. And most people don't know Dan. Dan has he's missing a leg from the knee down, and
Mm-hmm.
most people don't know why that is. I asked Dan just out of curiosity a while ago, like, how did that happen, man? The motherfucker was a teenager jumping trains, jumping train cars, just playing around, and fell and got run over by the train. And then, after getting run over by the train as a teenager, he had to crawl his way for some sort of help because there was no one nearby. He's just on some train tracks. His brother was hanging out with him, sees him as he's crawling up with his mangled fucking body. His younger brother passes out. So now
Mm-hmm.
he has to continue crawling further for help. And if that's not one of the baddest motherfuckers I've ever met, there's no other story that tops that. On top of the fact that I've known Dan since I started arm wrestling, and Dan is unfazed, unwavering, fearless. He not scared of anybody, quiet confidence, very quiet man, super nice, and he's got
He's
some hammers on his wrist, and I know he would throw them for sure.
yeah. I don't know him that well. I pulled him a few times, but he is incredibly stoic, incredibly respectful, ice cold. And when I pulled him, I could not pull him out of a ref grip. His hand was just eating my hand. I had no choice but to go to ref grip. But uh, uh, an insane amount of respect for a man like that. And I'm not talking about his disability. I'm talking cool, calm, collected, poised, obviously mentally strong. And I didn't know that story until you told me last night, but I was in awe. I told a buddy of mine today about that. For me, uh, the best fighter in a room is never as impressive as the man who doesn't have the fighting skills necessarily, but can deal with an overwhelming amount of adversity and survive it. Just resiliency, pain threshold, that stuff. Um, and obviously that guy wouldn't back down either. But for me, when I look at an alpha, or it's the ability to not back down from literally any challenge life throws at you. It's not, we omitted Gary Goodrich from this list, obviously, and of course he's, obviously because he would be everyone's number one. But um, for me, it's not necessarily a great fighter. It's a guy that will just not back down. Will always do the right thing, back up a buddy, um, and yeah. So, but and usually these men are still like they're not. They're not overly. They don't like they don't jump up and down. They're not colorful. They're not boisterous. They're just stoic, confident, and yeah. The little I know about Dan, that's exactly what I saw. So it doesn't surprise me. That story surprises me, and that story is fucking. That's
Yeah.
insane.
When
It's
he told it
insane.
to me, I was like, jaw dropped to the floor, like,
Yeah,
holy, how are you here?
because grown men in panic, in that type of panic situation, probably just bleed out and freeze. And he was what, like 13, 14, 15, to have the
Yeah.
wherewithal to not just get up in a fetal position and or roll in a fetal position and cry and just go into absolute panic. The guy crawls to safety. Like that's insane, and that's absolute mental focus in questionably the worst scenario possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He was unwilling to die and fought
Yeah,
for his life, which is exactly what you want. Exactly what you want in a buddy
yeah,
to back you up. Part
fuck
of
yeah,
having a
yeah,
buddy back you up in a barroom brawl or a parking lot scuffle is just knowing they're going to be there. Like I've
yeah,
been in
exactly.
those scenarios, and you end up by yourself because guys you thought were your friends aren't really throwing down. They're kind of watching or running. And Dan's not running, partly because he can't. He's got one leg, so he's going to stay in there and fight. But
Love Dan. Yeah,
he's just the man for me. Dan's always
yeah.
been super cool to me. One of the original guys that taught me arm wrestling, and I saw Dan one time doing a top roll, and while he was top rolling, he slipped and hit himself in the face so hard he knocked his teeth out. But just kept pulling, didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah, the first time I pulled him at Michigan State, I was sure I was going to lose. His left was unbelievable, and I got the ref grip, and I didn't hit first, but my body surged in perfect timing to meet my side pressure hit the hand, and I got him, and it was just I was so in awe that I got him fairly quick that I fucking slapped the table and got aggressive, like not to him, but in general. And then I'd tell him like, "Damn, that's not me. Like, I didn't. That was not a win." He's like, "Don't even worry about it. Like, don't even worry about it." But that was all like biological. That was not me trying to intimidate or to be a prick. That was just I was so excited that I stopped his roll.
Oh yeah,
Like I have a very, I have I think my whole hand fit in the palm of his hand. That's how big his hand was compared to my hand.
yeah,
He had a 240-pound length of his hand. It's thick too, but the length of his hand is ridiculous.
yeah. I've
So
got a pretty decent
yeah.
sized hand, and his fingers are at least a quarter inch longer than mine when we go
Oh
palming.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
He's
who's
made
your
to arm
lightweight?
wrestle, that's for sure. Yeah. So this was tough for me. I mean, heavyweights are easy for me. I could have made a top 10 with just heavyweights, but my lightweight, I had to go, and I don't have anything tangible or any stories like you have with Dan. But if I just go on instinct and how I read people, my number one lightweight, although he can make 180, but he's also proven that he can make 165, is Justin Bishop from Alabama because um, doesn't fuck around, incredibly confident. You could see that incredibly stoic. When things go wrong at the table, he's very poised. And I've seen him get into like when he's on point, when he has an argument or when he's believes in something, you're not going to push him off it. And I don't know anything about him. I don't know if he, but for me, my instinct tells me this is a cat that doesn't that doesn't flinch in the parking lot if there's a fight going down. Like this guy is, I believe, in loyal to a T when it comes to friends and he's a devout religious dude too, which isn't a bad thing. It means he's got ridiculous conviction in his beliefs, which is regardless of your belief, that's a strong point as well. So yeah, for me, it's him, Justin Bishop.
Yeah, for sure. When I think of Justin Bishop, I think of someone with strong conviction, and he's just got like constitution. He won't be moved off his point. If he really believes, and a man like him doesn't say things they don't believe. And
no.
Quiet, calm, confident. Him and I used to go back and forth quite often on Facebook, just discussing the MMA fights upcoming. And the way he talked and kind of broke down fighters, it almost sounded like either he has trained before or he's got a high fight IQ. Like he's well aware of what's happening in MMA. So having skill helps. But yeah, I think that guy's carved of stone. Plus, he's for that size, he's fucking a tank. He's for a lightweight, he's a middleweight cutting the lightweight for the bar fight for sure. He's a big boy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not a guy to fuck around with for sure. Doesn't deal with fuckery.
No, and there's also tremendous respect for him. And him and I have argued on stuff, but there's a ridiculous amount of respect for him as a man. Even though I don't believe I'm not a devout religious dude, and I don't agree with a lot of the things. There's a tremendous amount of respect towards him, and I would definitely not want to antagonize him, because there's a lot of respect.
Yeah, well, Justin's one of the people that I've seen him do it many times, where he can have a debate with someone that is complete opposite of him. He's willing to go back and forth. Like he's not afraid to do any of that. So
he's not going to block you.
No, he's not going to block you. He'll have no problem with you doing it. He's not going to block you unless you reach the point of harassment, which then it's valid. But no, that's that's a great pick. He's a great pick for a lightweight for sure. All right, my 200-pound and under guy. This is the first guy that came to mind immediately. I just disclaimer, I would probably pick my brother. I mean, I know I would pick my brother, but that's way too biased. I can't pick my own brother. Like I'm too close to the sun on that. So excluding family members, this was the first time.
Wouldn't your brother be closer to 165 than 200?
No, he walks around at like 190.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's like 6'1". He's a big dude. Okay. But this was the first guy I thought of, not family member, and Joel Hudick. I don't think there's a 200-pound under guy in arm wrestling that's going to whoop Joel Hudick's ass. And even if they did fight, that guy is going to wish he didn't. Like, even if he beats Joel, he's going to wish he never ran to that fucking Tasmanian devil. And Joel is one of the coolest, calmest, collected, nicest guys ever. But incredible athlete, basketball player, football player, good at everything. I've seen him do a fucking fireman's activity course. Killed it better than all those guys. Won a tough man contest. I've seen him drink 2 cases of beers and not stumble. Like, this dude's like cut from a different cloth. Plus, if you've met Joel and you've seen his nose, you know he didn't get that from playing golf. That dude's been in plenty of scraps. And Joel's had my back many times. And like, I know Joel. Like, we practiced together. We pulled a lot. We've been at the same tournaments. Joel would square up in flip-flops with anybody. No problem. Would not run. Would stand there and throw down for sure with anybody on planet Earth. He's just tough, mental, physical dude that you don't want to fuck with.
I was once trolling the hell out of Quinlan Mendez, and Joel got in there, and I trolled them both. And I was heavy on, and quickly I realized that I shouldn't be trolling Joel, not because of the potential aftermath that could come if I see him at Michigan State. This was prior to Michigan State 2018. It's just this is a man to respect, right? Don't like, it's not about the result that could come of it. It's just I realized that he was just defending a buddy, and my fight. Quickly as a troll, sometimes you have to realize to retreat. Like, this isn't a good one. You do not want to. This isn't a good. You don't want to rattle this cage. And again, it's not because of what can come back my way. It's just this is a strong dude. This isn't the type of guy you want to troll. Troll the betas. Betas are the best to troll because they're going to cry themselves to sleep. Uh,
Yeah,
Joel's not going to cry himself to
Joel
sleep.
deserves respect for sure. Like you're
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
he
and I don't
deserves
know
respect.
him. I've met him once, literally. Doesn't surprise me that you pick him. My instinct tells me, yeah, he's a bad motherfucker. Yeah, just the way he composes himself.
Yeah, and you can even see it in the way he competes. War, fighter, doesn't back down. Numerous wars, any position, wrist bent back, does not quit. He's
Yeah,
got the fucking caveman beard and the flat forehead. I fuck with Joel all the time because I'm a Michigan guy. He's an Ohio guy. So we fuck with each other a lot about college football mostly. But Joel knows I love him. And I would have Joel's back the same way. Like
yeah,
the respect is like you say, I really respect Joel a lot. He's a good dude and like real recognizes real. I Joel deserves everybody's respect. And Joel is
yeah,
not scared to immediately call a bitch when he sees it. If he sees bullshit or fuckery, he will call it out immediately. And I think that's another attribute that we need more of in this world where he's not down
yeah,
with any of that bullshit.
yeah,
All
yeah. I
right, who's your
recall that.
middleweight?
Yeah, and every time there's a comment from Joel on Facebook, I'm always on it. Like he always says,
Yeah, he's on the money.
no, and yeah, and he's always right. And he's strong on his position. He's not, on the fence. Like, oh yeah, maybe, but no, he's boom. And generally, I agree with him. This one, I mean, for me, this is tough because the baddest dude in the room is usually a big dude, and but um, I mean, if I can go into a time machine and get Ron Bath when he was 19 at 198 pounds, fucking Ron Bath. But again, that doesn't make sense because now he's about 240. But for me,
But you
Ron
can
Bath
still
is an
pick that.
absolute,
You can pick that.
yeah.
We're taking these guys in their prime. You know what I mean? Like
Okay,
prime.
so it's a tie between two guys, and fuck it, it's honorable mentions. It's either if you're gonna let me use Ron Bath as my 200, it's gonna be Ron Bath. Commands respect by everyone. Quiet, subdued, confident, cool, much like the other, these traits that we talked about prior with the other guys. Um, and I've seen him like throw dudes um, when he has to and when it's justified, not because he's drunk and wants to make a show. So for me, it's Ron Bath. There's only two guys in the world that I tell myself are not trollable by me. There's two guys that can say anything to me, post about anything, and I will not troll them. And that's a rule that I made for myself. And one is Ron Bath, and the other one is the one I'm going to mention that runs along with him in the under 200, and that's Todd Hutchins. And I don't know if Todd, I don't know. I don't know if Todd. I've never seen him in a physical altercation, but again, ridiculous mental strength. We've seen this like ridiculous tolerance for pain. Old school guy, uh, old school things, old school um, core values, and I don't see him running in any situation. And again, tremendous respect for him because he's supremely confident, not a boisterous, not a showman. And so, yeah, for me, it's Ron Bath number one. Honorable mention, Todd Hutchins.
Yeah, yeah. Ron Bath he's like dad vibes for me. He's like the way you look up to a dad almost. You know what I mean? And not just because of the age, just his mentality. He's old school, real old school dude, old school Southern gentleman, super nice,
Yeah,
but will fuck
yeah,
you up
and
outside of
and
a church if he had to, for sure.
yeah, and it's so fucked up because if John Brzenk was never born, Ron Bath was the goat.
Yeah,
But because he was always in the shadow of John, and even has wins over John. Like he on his own has had a remarkable career. But I always thought that when you look at again, we talk about the definition of a goat. But if you encapsulate the character of the man in everything, for me, Ron Bath is the most impressive arm wrestler I've ever known, got to know, seen. When you take into consideration the man, not just the arm wrestling resume.
yeah. I met Ron Bath one time, and way bigger in person too. Like
Yes,
just frame
6'3",
wise,
6'4". Yeah, big
yeah,
dude.
big old man, and just
Yeah,
looked like he
yeah,
was carved out of stone.
yeah.
And
And,
yeah,
and probably a guy that's not scared of physical labor when he was younger. Like this is a guy that would like work all day. Like
yeah, no,
obviously strong work, old school work ethic, physical work ethic, all that stuff.
Yeah, Ron
old
would
good
work
old.
circles around most young guys today, probably. Like this newer
Yeah,
generation,
no, for sure.
Ron would
Yeah,
bust their
for
ass.
sure, for sure. Yeah, he's old school. Yeah,
Yeah, and of course, just for your honorable mention, Todd Hutchings. That's like two goats you listed in North America right there, and
yeah.
two warriors. And Todd
But I
also
mean,
has the
yeah,
warrior mentality,
I
for
think
sure.
so. Yeah. I'd pick them even if they weren't good arm wrestlers, but they were obviously arm wrestlers nevertheless because it's the way they hold themselves. Quite frankly, there are probably guys out there that are amateur arm wrestlers that are better than all these guys. We just don't know them, so we have to go with the guys we know. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah,
and now the list gets interesting. I find because like
yeah,
I've always said, like I was always a lightweight puller, and I'm the first guy to say that when man, this is gonna sound terrible, but when it's time for the women to arm wrestle or the light guys, I go take a leak. Like, and I'm a light guy. I just I want to. I don't care who the like. I don't care who the strongest guy at 131 is. I don't care like Floyd Mayweather. I don't care how strong a guy is at 121 when a full grown woman who knows how to handle herself can throw you through a bar wall. Like who cares? So it's always the guy that you need to watch out for is generally not 131 and a half pounds. I don't care how bad he thinks he is. It's usually a big dude.
yeah.
Um, hence why bouncers are not necessarily the best fighters. They're the biggest dudes to calm a situation. When a guy's 6'8", 350 puts his hands on you, you're like, oh, you get sober quick. I'm like, he might not be a fighter. I don't really want to take a chance that he can, fucking suplex me and break my spine.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Heavyweight champion is the most glorious position for a reason.
for sure. Yeah. And like Devin said many times, the number one title in this sport is right-handed overall super heavyweight guy. Like that's the title to have. The super heavyweight right arm is the most prestigious title in our sport, not the women's 121 to 132 left grandmasters disabled.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't have said disabled because a lot of
No,
courageous people, a lot of courage. Yeah, I got you in my ear saying shut the fuck up and go with it. Just roll.
no, no, dude. Do you ever watch? Have you ever watched the Special Olympics? No, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, nobody watches that shit. It's cool they have it, but no. Yeah, my heavyweight. I went. This was the hardest class for me, just because there's so many to choose from. There's so many tough big guys because, like you say, it's the most prestigious spot. So
Yeah.
like I'm aware of so many super heavyweights throughout time, but I don't really know any of them. Like I don't know
Mm-hmm.
Ivan. I never met Tim Bresnan, even though he seems like a badass. Like I don't know any of those guys, so I kind of my list is like all guys that I know, and for me, my super heavyweight, and just because a guy's big and intimidating doesn't mean that they really want to fight. You know, you can be a big,
Mm-hmm.
intimidating guy and not want to be part of that. And I get it. Like, I get not wanting to fight for somebody, but I mean, I don't get it if they're your friend. Like, we're assuming these
Mm-hmm.
are people you're close with at the time. But so for me, I went with the biggest, baddest dude that I knew when I started, and that was a guy named Bob Easter. I don't know if you ever met Bob Easter.
Yeah, yeah. The name rings a bell.
Yeah, he was
The
a
name rings a
Michigan
bell.
State champion probably
Yeah.
6, 7 years ago. Super heavyweight, Colorado State champion. He's won a few state championships. He's a little bit older now. He's kind of out of the game. He still comes to practices, but in that dude's prime, like I didn't even see him in his prime when I started 12 years ago. He's like 6'4", 300 pounds, and a fucking mountain of a man. And he is loyal to a T. Like I know 100%. Even now, Bob, as an older man, he would throw down for me for sure. I've heard many stories about Bob Easter having my back when people saying things about me that when I wasn't around, saying negative things about me, and Bob will always stand up for me. He's got true integrity. He's a good friend, and I know 100% if I'm with Bob, I'm not going to be by myself. And he's fucking 6'4", 6'5", 300, 350 pounds, huge mountain of a man. Biggest hands I've ever gripped up with. It's like holding a fucking catcher's mitt when you're trying to hold his hand. And he's kind of from the South too, another Southern guy, old school Constitution. Bob would stand and bang, and I know that for sure.
Nice. Yeah. Wait a yeah. It's not a household name. Good for you. Yeah. Yeah. Know the name, don't know the guy, but yeah, obviously sounds
Yeah,
like
again,
legit.
I
No,
kind
no
of knew
doubt.
most people weren't going to know the name, like because he doesn't travel a lot. He's kind of an old school guy, but it's just I couldn't imagine making this list and then not, and because Bob's the only
Yeah.
guy I know like that I really
Yeah.
know would have my back for sure. I
Yeah.
haven't met a ton of other super heavyweights on a personal level like that are like there's so many big dudes out there, but
Yeah.
Bob I
Can,
know for sure would be there.
can I pick your brain for a sec? Obviously, I
Yeah,
can. Um, where we're talking the number one guy, we're not doing the top five, but would did you consider Devin? Would Devin be in your like? He's got to be up there.
no,
6'6", military trained. No.
no, no, and it's not a shot against Devin personally. I don't think Devin's a sissy. I think Devin would fight. Like I think that Devin's obviously been to war. He's been to combat. Um, but I'm not trying to hate on the man because he had the balls to do it. But I saw him box half door, and it looked like he'd never really boxed before. Like he looked really uncoordinated. It looked like he hadn't thrown punches, and like that alone was a reason where like I thought he was going to do much better against half door than he did, considering his background. Like he's combat trained, experience. He talked about how he had combat training. I've heard him say it many times, but when he was in that ring, that looked like. But I say I'm not trying to tear this man down, but now you're making me do it, Chris. My 12-year-old son throws better punches than that. Just from me teaching him, he throws better punches than that. Devin looked kind of lost in that boxing ring.
Yeah. Yeah. That fight, the lack of his uh, punching or fighting technique did not bother me as much as his lack of fight in the fight. For me, he went into that fight for the paycheck, and as soon as there was a little bit of he didn't get slammed or anything. He just the flag was thrown in, and he was all smiles and hugs afterwards. And for me, you can lose, you can look foolish. It's all good, but you have to have an aggressive fighting quality, which I'm sure he has in spades. If you consider his background, and I'm not saying he couldn't have. I'm just saying that I was disappointed, not in the technical aspect, but in the intangibles and in his lack of engagement or commitment to making it a good, entertaining fight where he was actually trying to win, not trying to get out unscathed with a paycheck. And
Yeah, I don't think he was really taking it that serious, to be honest. Like I know he trained, and it was a
that's
short
fine.
notice to step in. I don't think he was really taking it like
Yeah,
he wasn't like do or
that's right.
die. And for a guy
No,
like
no, no,
Devin,
no.
like a Devin
Yeah,
who's been in combat, like it probably is kind of more like a game to him. And
yeah,
part of it too was that ref, man. Devin didn't even get dropped. He didn't like
yeah,
he didn't even get knocked down. The ref was just kind of like, no, I don't want to see you punch him anymore.
yeah,
It was the first
yeah,
round, wasn't it? First round
yeah.
stoppage.
Yeah, I don't remember the stoppage. One thing I don't like, again, is I don't like the smiles afterwards and the sense of relief. Like when a fight gets stopped prematurely, the guy who's going to lose should be absolutely fucking enraged, and usually they are. Not smiles and but like I said, in his defense, I think he went in to have fun and just enjoy it, and I don't fault him for that. I was just disappointed because I wanted to see a fight, like a fucking fight, but maybe
So yeah,
maybe it was.
I was disappointed by the performance too. I thought he was going to do better. Like I
Mhm.
because Half Thor had been training for a couple of years for sure, which is a big deal. He's a mountain. He's a fucking massive human being. But I didn't think Devin was going to win. But like you say, I thought he would put up more fight, and I thought he'd look a
Mhm.
little bit better, like
Yeah.
a little bit
All
crisper.
right.
But
Yeah. Anyway, with ourselves, I think there's a lot of guys. If you ask a lot of guys to label their number one, I think a lot of arm wrestlers universally um, take him, right? And it's not a bad choice. Fuck, I mean, you know,
it's not a
I was
bad
just
choice if
curious
there's
what.
guns involved. I bet he
Yeah.
shoots guns really well. But looking at
Yeah.
that striking, yeah, I don't. I think
Yeah.
Joel Huda
Fair
would
enough.
fuck him up.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
All right, who's your super heavyweight?
Yeah. So this is again. There are multiple names that come to mind, um, but I'm going to go with something I've seen live multiple times. And he's an arm wrestler. He has this guy has wins on Tim Bresnan in 2006, a month after Tim beat John Brzenk. He has wins on Ian Carnegie, Mike Gould, and Evan Begoyan. you might not know him. He's a Canadian, but it's John Lassard. Pulled a lot back in 2007 to 2012. A lot in New Hampshire, Maine, stuff like that. He would go across the border. So when we were younger, I'll give you one story. I can name many stories, but when we were younger, um, he was bullied a lot as a young kid. He was always in high school. He was very introverted, kept himself, and he was bullied a lot. Didn't come from money, poor family, so they a lot of the kids picked on him. Then he got big. Now I'm not saying crazy big, but when he was an adult, he was in his 20s. He was 6'2", 245, 250, and we were in a bar one night playing pool, and his younger brother was there, and his younger brother was a big guy too, and his younger brother was getting antagonized or picked on by a local, the town badass slash bully who was about 6'6", 360, 370. Every week would pick a guy and kick the shit out of him, and had guys pissing in their pants. So he was antagonizing my buddy's brother, and I was playing pool, and I was witnessing all this. And at one point, my buddy just stands up and say, "We have a problem here," and he says, "Well, I'm picking on your brother." And my friend says, "You want to go outside? We'll go outside, but I'm not going to stand here and let you pick on my brother like that." And I saw the other guy almost kind of retreat, and he says, "You think you can take me?" And says, "I don't care if I can take you or not, but this isn't going to happen. So let's see who the man is, and I'm not scared. Let's fucking do it." And the guy quickly said, "I don't have a beef with you, John. Like, I don't have a beef. It's all good." But I've seen him do it multiple times, standing up for what's right with bigger guys, always, bigger guys, and a good fighter, a good scrapper, but not the baddest fighter in the room, but will not back down. And I remember once when we were young, I said to him, I said, "You're going to back me up? A couple of these guys want to," and he's like, "No, you've been acting like a fool. You need a beating. Now, you deserve a beating, but if they start, caving in your forehead, I'll stop it. But until that point, you need to get a beating. You've been a prick to these guys." That type of guy, right? Yeah. And he, but so he's my number one because I've seen it many times. But I will give honorable mentions. Again, I don't know if I can do it, but fucking I'm gonna do it. In his prime, and we're only talking back 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, Mike Gould. I heard stories about Mike Gould, and then something happened to me. I was trolling a guy, and things escalated. And we had a mutual friend with Mike Gould, and the guy says, Mike," and it got really bad. Like, the guy was threatening me. He was gonna drive 4 hours to come see me. Like, beautiful trolling. Anyway, so he says, Mike?" I said, "I know Mike," and then he says, "We got no beef." He says, "You know Mike well?" I said, "Yeah, we trained together. I know Mike well." And he says, "Okay." He just retracted, and then I talked to Mike after the fact. Mike says, "Yeah, it's a good thing you because that guy went to prison for manslaughter back in the day. So the guy that was threatening me, but he knew not to stay clear of anyone that's in good standing with Mike." But I've also heard stories of Mike, and I've seen him in bars cool things down, not looking for problems, not looking to kick the shit out of a guy so he
Just
can
exerting alpha dominance.
Yeah, and that is, and he's big, but he's not crazy big. Like, he's
No, not super
6'5",
tall at least.
But and I've seen him see red. There was a super match where he was reffing between Sylvain Perron and a big, huge black guy back in the day. It was a world champion. Was it Sylvain Perron? Anyway, they got two 240-pound guys, and Mike was reffing. And Mike was maybe 55 at the time. He wasn't a super young guy. And they got in the setup. The two pullers were getting aggressive, and Mike told him to calm down. And then one guy started putting his hands on the other guy, and Mike just fucking grabbed him. And the other guy was like, "Okay, we're done. Like, we're okay. I'm cool. I'm fine." Like, and he was bigger than Mike. He was a 6'3", 240, 50-pound guy. Yeah, don't fuck around with Mike. When he sees red, just be cool, right? Anyway, so yeah, some honorable mentions to Mike Gould. But I mean, when we're talking about super heavyweights, Tim Bresnan for me, when I started arm wrestling, and I went to Loon Mountain. Bill Cox used to run these awesome tournaments back in the Northeast, and Tim Bresnan, stand in the corner of a room, not boisterous, not flexing his arms every 2 seconds like RBJ. RBJ was there, by the way. And that just, for me, it was like, at no point do I genetically feel that I should antagonize this man physically. But there's a voice in my head that says, just even if there's an inkling, bury that fucking thing right now and leave that man alone. Because it's not just he's a big guy. It's just, and it's not that he has tattoos or he had a biker jacket or he had a Harley. None of these things matter. It's just that the way he held himself, and the toughest guy in the room is not it's not the loudest guy. Often it's the quietest guy. And and I could be dead wrong. I don't know Tim. I know Tim well, but in this respect, I don't know how dominant he is. But my instincts told me this guy is formidable, big time in any room. Yeah. I lost my audio, man. No audio.
Spartacus Project.